Have you ever looked at your garden, stared at the dry, cracked dirt, and wondered if anything will ever truly thrive there again? What if I told you that you could take the most barren, lifeless patch of dirt and transform it into rich, dark, vibrant soil in just 60 days? And what if the only tool you needed was a simple wooden stick? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are uncovering a forgotten 19th century agricultural secret that has been completely buried by modern chemical farming. By the end of this video you will know exactly how to use a specific type of wooden stick to awaken the sleeping biology in your yard. But here is the hook. Everything you have been taught about adding expensive chemical fertilizers to fix your dirt is completely wrong. In fact, those chemicals are the exact reason your soil is dead in the first place. We are going to reveal the hidden underground world that thrives on rotting wood, and I promise you will never look at a fallen branch the same way again. Do you think dead dirt is a lost cause, or do you believe nature can heal itself? Let me know in the comments right now, and let us dive into the mystery. To truly understand this 60-day transformation, we have to travel back to the late 19th century. Back then, farmers did not have access to big box stores selling bags of neon blue synthetic nitrogen. They relied entirely on the natural cycles of the forest and the earth. They noticed that the absolute richest, most fertile soil was always found at the edges of the woods, right underneath fallen, decaying trees. The pioneers of early organic farming realized that rotting wood was not just trash. It was an incubator for life. They developed a technique of taking specific decaying sticks and logs from the forest and burying them in their depleted crop fields. They called it planting the seed of the soil. Over the decades, as the Industrial Revolution introduced fast-acting chemical fertilizers, this brilliant biological technique was entirely forgotten. We traded long-term soil health for short-term chemical sugar rushes. Today we understand the science behind what those 19th century farmers were doing intuitively. They were cultivating mycelium and beneficial microbes. So let us break down exactly how you can recreate this forgotten magic in your own backyard right now. Let us start by looking at the dirt in your backyard right now. There is a massive difference between mere dirt and living soil. Most of us are actually trying to grow our beautiful plants in dead dirt. We go to the store, we buy expensive bags of chemical fertilizers, and we pour them over the ground hoping for a miracle. But here is the harsh truth that no one tells you at the garden center. Those synthetic powders are actually making your soil much worse over time. They act like a quick sugar rush for your plants. Sure, you might see a sudden burst of green leaves, but beneath the surface, the natural ecosystem is starving to death. The beneficial bacteria and fungi that make soil truly alive are being burned away by the heavy salts in those commercial products. Imagine trying to survive by only drinking energy drinks while sitting in a barren, hot desert. That is exactly what your vegetables and flowers are experiencing every single day. The myth that you need synthetic chemicals to grow massive, healthy plants is the biggest lie of modern agriculture. True soil health is not about adding chemical nutrients at all. It is about creating a thriving, breathing biological engine right under your feet. And the key to unlocking that powerful engine is surprisingly simple, completely free, and has been hiding in the woods this entire time. So, what exactly is this forgotten 19th century wooden stick technique? To understand this, we need to talk about the concept of biological inoculation. You cannot just take a fresh, dry piece of lumber from a hardware store and stick it in the ground. That will do absolutely nothing. The secret lies in finding a piece of wood that is already in the early stages of decay. You want a stick from a local forest or a healthy wooded area that has been laying on the ground, soaking up the rain, and inviting nature inside. This specific type of wood acts as a Trojan horse. It is packed full of dormant microbes, beneficial bacteria, and most importantly, the spores of mycorrhizal fungi. When you bring this stick into your dead garden, you are essentially bringing a tiny, concentrated piece of the ancient forest ecosystem into your yard. Think of it like taking a scoop of healthy yogurt with active cultures to start a brand new batch of yogurt. The stick is the starter culture for your dead soil. A perfect example is a branch of oak or maple that feels slightly spongy to the touch, but still holds its shape. This is the exact tool our ancestors used to breathe life back into exhausted farm fields. Now, let us completely debunk a massive gardening myth that stops people from trying this. Have you ever heard someone say that you should never put uncomposted wood into your soil because it will rob your plants of nitrogen? This is a very common fear, and it is based on a misunderstanding of the carbon-to-nitrogen ratio. It is true that if you mix a massive amount of fresh sawdust directly into your soil, the bacteria will temporarily use up available nitrogen to break that carbon down. But we are not doing that. We are burying a single, intact, already decomposing stick. Because the stick remains whole, the decay process is incredibly slow and localized. It does not pull nitrogen from the surrounding area in any significant way. Instead, it acts as a slow-release sponge. As it breaks down, it actually holds onto moisture and slowly releases vital carbon compounds that feed the microscopic life around it. Imagine the wooden stick as a long-term savings account for your garden, rather than a credit card that maxes out your nitrogen. By using a stick that has already started to rot, we completely bypass this nitrogen tie-up phase. The 19th-century farmers knew this through observation, even if they did not know the modern chemistry terms. Let us dive into step 1 of this 60-day transformation process. First, you need to properly assess the barren plot of land you want to revive. Pick a spot that is hard, compacted, and looks completely hopeless. Before we introduce the wooden stick, we need to create a welcoming environment. You will dig a shallow trench in this dead dirt, about 6 to 8 inches deep. This depth is absolutely crucial. You do not want to bury the stick too deep where there is no oxygen, because the beneficial microbes we are trying to grow are aerobic. They need to breathe air just like we do. If you bury it 2 feet down, it will just rot anaerobically and turn into a foul-smelling mess. Once your trench is dug, you will place your carefully selected, decaying wooden stick horizontally right into the bottom. For an average-sized garden bed, a stick about the thickness of your arm and perhaps 2 feet long is absolutely perfect. You are literally laying down the foundation of a brand new microscopic city. To give you a clear picture, imagine you are laying down the main water pipe for a new neighborhood. Everything else we do over the next 60 days will connect to this central biological pipeline. Step 2 involves understanding the magical transition that happens in the first 14 days. Once your stick is resting comfortably in its shallow trench, you will cover it back up with the dead dirt you just dug out. Do not pack it down tightly. Let the soil remain loose so oxygen can flow downward. Now, for the first 2 weeks, your main job is moisture management. The microorganisms living inside that rotting stick need water to wake up from their dormant state. You need to water this specific patch of soil deeply every 3 days. Not enough to flood it, but enough to ensure the wooden stick underneath gets thoroughly soaked. This is where the magic begins to happen unseen. Inside the dark, damp earth, the fungal spores on the stick realize they are in a new environment. They begin to stretch out microscopic, thread-like structures called hyphae into the surrounding dead dirt. Think of these fungal threads like a massive underground internet network slowly connecting to new servers. During these first 2 weeks, you will not see anything happening on the surface. Your neighbors might even think you are crazy for watering a patch of barren dirt. But underneath, a microscopic explosion of life is quietly beginning to take over. By day 20, we introduce the next crucial phase of the technique. We need to feed the newly expanding underground internet. The fungi and bacteria are now bravely venturing out of the wooden stick and into the dead soil, but they are hungry. To keep them moving outward, we must apply a layer of organic mulch on the surface of the soil directly above the buried stick. You can use dried leaves, straw, or pesticide-free grass clippings. This mulch layer serves two incredibly important purposes. First, it acts like a thick blanket, protecting the bare soil from the harsh, baking sun and preventing the moisture around the wooden stick from evaporating. Second, as the bottom layer of this mulch slowly breaks down, it drips fresh carbon and nutrients down into the soil every time it rains. The fungal threads reaching up from the buried stick will sense this food source. They will grow upward to grab the nutrients from the mulch, and in doing so, they completely aerate the compacted dirt in between. It is a brilliant natural system. An easy way to picture this is holding a carrot on a stick in front of a horse. The mulch is the carrot, drawing the microbes up through the dead soil, breaking up the hard clay as they move. As we reach day 30, exactly halfway through our timeline, a miraculous physical change begins to occur in the structure of your soil. This is the stage where the myth of mechanical tilling is destroyed. Most modern gardeners believe that to fix hard clay or dead dirt, you must buy a loud, expensive rototiller and aggressively chop up the ground. But tilling actually destroys the delicate fungal networks we are working so hard to build. It is like running a tornado through our microscopic city. Instead, by day 30, the fungi spreading from your wooden stick are doing the tilling for you. The fungal threads produce a sticky organic substance called glomalin. This natural biological glue binds tiny particles of dead sand, silt, and clay together into larger, crumbly clumps called aggregates. This means your soil is literally changing its physical shape. It goes from being a solid brick of dirt to becoming a porous, breathable sponge. If you were to gently dig your fingers into the dirt above the stick on day 30, you would notice it is noticeably softer than the surrounding yard. The 19th-century farmers called this making the earth mellow, a beautiful phrase for a deeply complex biological process. Moving into day 40, we witness the return of the macrobiology. Up until now, the heavy lifting has been done by microscopic bacteria and fungi. But as the soil becomes softer and richer, the larger creatures take notice. Earthworms, the absolute superstars of the gardening world, are highly sensitive to the chemicals emitted by decaying wood and active fungal networks. The buried stick acts like a giant underground dinner bell ringing for every earthworm in the vicinity. They will migrate from the surrounding areas directly toward your revived patch of earth. As the worms burrow toward the stick to feed on the multiplying microbes, they create massive tunnels. These tunnels allow even more oxygen and rainwater to penetrate deeply into the earth. Furthermore, as the worms eat the microbes and the softening wood, they leave behind worm castings. These castings are nature's most perfect, nutrient-dense fertilizer. You do not have to buy them in a plastic bag. You are manufacturing them on-site for free. If you look closely at your patch on day 40, you might start seeing tiny wormholes appearing on the surface beneath your mulch. The dead zone is officially coming back to life, orchestrated entirely by that single piece of wood. Let us pause to discuss a fascinating side benefit of this method that usually goes unnoticed until extreme weather hits. The buried wooden stick actually acts as an underground temperature regulator. Have you ever noticed how a forest floor feels cool in the blazing heat of summer and relatively warm during a cold autumn morning? This is exactly what we are recreating on a small scale. Dead, dry dirt heats up extremely fast, baking plant roots and killing off surface life. But the rotting stick holds on to moisture deeply within its cellular structure. As the sun beats down on your garden during day 45 of our process, the moisture inside the wood slowly evaporates underground, creating a cooling microclimate for the surrounding soil. Conversely, during a sudden cold snap, The biological friction of millions of microbes actively digesting the wood actually generates a tiny amount of heat. It is a built-in thermostat for your garden bed. An incredible illustration of this was observed by a permaculture farmer in Texas, who noticed that the soil directly above his buried wood remained 10 degrees cooler than the bare dirt just 3 feet away during a massive summer heat wave. This stability is vital for plant roots. By day 50, the sensory transformation of the soil is undeniable. This is the moment where you can literally smell the success of your work. If you take a handful of the soil directly above where you buried the stick and bring it up to your face, you will notice a distinct, intoxicating aroma. It smells like a deep, damp forest after a heavy spring rain. Scientists have a name for this smell. It is called petrichor, and it is specifically produced by an organic compound called geosmin. Geosmin is a byproduct of healthy actinobacteria thriving in the soil. If your soil smells like nothing, or worse, if it smells sour and metallic, it is dead. But that rich, earthy forest smell is the ultimate proof that the biological inoculation from your wooden stick has completely taken over the area. Visually, the dirt has changed color. What used to be pale, gray, dusty earth is now transforming into a rich, dark chocolate brown. The carbon from the wood and the organic matter from the surface mulch have fully integrated into the soil matrix. It is a stunning visual and olfactory reminder that soil is not just a bunch of crushed rocks. It is a living, breathing superorganism. Now, as we approach the final days of the process, it is important to understand why massive agricultural corporations do not want you to know about this. If every home gardener and small farmer realized they could revive their dead soil using free, fallen branches from the woods, the multi-billion-dollar chemical fertilizer industry would collapse. They spend millions on advertising to convince you that soil is just an empty bucket, and you must constantly buy their expensive powders to fill the bucket up with nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. But the 19th-century wooden stick technique proves that the soil already has abundant minerals locked away in the sand and clay. The problem is that plants cannot eat rocks. They need the fungi and bacteria to mine those minerals and deliver them to their roots. The rotting wood provides the permanent home for those microscopic miners. By implementing this 60-day technique, you are permanently stepping off the treadmill of chemical dependency. You are not just feeding a plant for one season. You are building an underground infrastructure that will continue to improve itself year after year, absolutely free of charge. Welcome to day 60. The transformation is now complete. What started as a barren, compacted patch of lifeless dirt is now a thriving biological community. The wooden stick you buried 2 months ago is now completely unrecognizable. If you were to dig it up, which you absolutely should not do, you would find it soft, spongy, and completely interwoven with white, thread-like mycelium. The surrounding soil is now dark, crumbly, and teeming with earthworms and beneficial insects. The soil aggregates are strong, meaning when it rains, the water will soak deeply into the ground rather than running off the surface. You are now ready to plant, whether you want to grow giant heirloom tomatoes, vibrant roses, or a lush patch of green grass. The root systems of your new plants will instantly tap into the fungal network you have spent the last 60 days cultivating. The fungi will trade water and mine nutrients for the sugars produced by your plant's leaves. It is a perfect, ancient symbiosis. You have successfully used a forgotten technique from the 1800s to heal the damage of the modern era. Your soil is alive, resilient, and ready to produce abundance. And there you have the ultimate plot twist. The secret to fixing your barren, lifeless yard was never inside a plastic bottle at the hardware store. It was lying quietly on the forest floor all along. By simply burying a decaying wooden stick and waiting 60 days, you have created a powerful microscopic bridge that brings the magic of the ancient woods straight into your garden. You have transformed hard clay into a breathable sponge, invited the earthworms back to dinner, and completely broken free from the toxic cycle of chemical fertilizers. The earth naturally wants to heal itself. It just needs you to provide the right spark. Thank you so much for watching and exploring this fascinating piece of 19th century agricultural history with me today. If this video changed the way you look at the dirt beneath your feet, please hit that subscribe button and give the video a like so we can spread this natural gardening secret to the world. Now, I have a question for you. Are you going to try the wooden stick technique in your own yard? And what is the very first plant you are going to grow in your newly revived soil? Let me know your plans in the comments down below, and I will see you in the next video.